Everyone. Welcome to the Youth Future Global Dialogue. It is organized by the New York Tzu Chi chapter and the Huang International Chinese School. Buddha Tzu Chi Foundation is an international humanitarian organization whose mission is to relieve the suffering of those in need while creating a better world for all through compassion, love, and hope. This event is actually organized by youth for youth. Through the dialogue, we hope to build a bridge in the pandemic to raise awareness about global issue, to inspire more youth action to co-create the future. Hi, my name is Roger. I'm an alumnus from University of California, San Diego, also an active Tzu Chi volunteer. It's truly an honor and pleasure for me to be your moderator for today. In the last dialogue, we paint the future we would like to see in 2045 together. It is a future where everyone has access to basic needs, food, clean water, healthcare, and education. A future where everyone's involved in their job with passion. A future with less pollution, but more climate action. A future with less conflict, but more global collaboration. Most importantly, a future with tolerance and compassion. Today, we're excited to see so many people are online and ready to join the discussion on what action should be taken to save the world and achieve the future. We're also honored to have three distinguished panelists with us today to share their path and stories. Before we start the program, I have some reminder I'd like to make. Please keep your camera off and microphone muted during the panel session. And in the later, when we go to the breakout room for group discussion, please turn on your camera and microphone. And just be respectful to the panelists and also your fellow attendee throughout the entire dialogue. If you have not renamed yourself, please do so as now. If you're a high school student or younger, please put a 1 in the number location. If you're a college student or graduate from university, please put 2 in front of your region. For region, if you're an attendee from United States, please put your state acronym that you're currently at right now. If you are from the rest of the world, please put the full country name in the bracket. So make sure you do both. Number, if you indicate your high school or younger, or 2, if you're a college student or graduate from university. Okay. And you all have RSVP the event and should have received 2 forms to complete. If you're minors, you need to sign and return both media release consent form and parental permission form. If you're over 18 or over, you only need to sign and return media release consent form. And if you already signed the form for the last dialogue, you don't need to fill it out again. You only have to do it once. And just briefly go over the agenda for today. So we're gonna have our first panel session, and we're gonna have a 40-minute small group discussion in the breakout room. And we're gonna come back to for the big group sharing. For the big group sharing, your facilitator in the breakout room will ask if anyone would like to volunteer, represent for the group to share at the when we come back to the main room for the big group sharing. It'll be 10 minutes and around 4 to 5 people. So not everyone will have the opportunity to share. So seize the chance to share. Okay, and after that, we have our second panel session, the last part. And after that, we have a 15-minute Q&A, which I will go over that a bit later. And at the end, we will have a closing remark from our 3 panelists. And we're very excited and honored to have 3 exceptional panelists here to share with us their story and inspiration for youth. And I would like to introduce them now. First, I want to introduce Darcy. Darcy is the founder of Teaspoon of Change. He's also the head of sustainability and global citizenship of the Dulwich Group of School. He is also the ambassador and advisor for many organizations, such as World's Largest Lesson, Jump Foundation, and so on. Hi, Darcy. Would you like to say hi, introduce, and tell us where you're connecting from?
I'd love to. Hi, folks. Lovely to be joining you at midday almost here in South Australia. So I'm calling you from my niece's house where I cycled 200 kilometres to get here, and looking forward to the discussion today.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you to have you here. And next, I would like to introduce Helen. Helen is the founder of Green Liger. She graduated from University of Cambridge. She has 19 years of experience developing and managing international projects with multinational corporation, international organization, and Chinese governmental agencies. She also awarded the Study UK Alumni Social Impact Award by the British Council in 2017. Hi, how are you, Helen? Where are you connecting from?
Yeah, I'm connecting from Suzhou, actually, from China. It's called the Oriental Venice. I'm very glad to share my stories with young people. And this will be a global community to promote sustainability worldwide. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Helen. Great to have you here as well. And last but not least, I would like to introduce Dr. Huang. Dr. Huang is the Tzu Chi USA's Executive Vice President and former CEO. He received a PhD in molecular biology from Indiana University, Bloomington. He worked with volunteers and staff across the US in carrying support Dharma Master Chen Yan's vision and executive Tzu Chi charitable mission. Hi, Dr. Huang, how are you? Where are you connecting from?
Hi, Roger, and all the attendees. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm connecting from Los Angeles in the United States. Yeah, the Los Angeles city now, you know, the pandemic's getting worse. So everybody kind of a little bit panic, but, you know, it's okay. It's good to have these kind of online conference, you know, to help everybody to calm down. So thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you. Great to have you here, Huang. Okay, so this is a global dialogue, and you might be wondering where the rest of the attendee fellow are connecting from. And so we have a little small warm-up activity I would ask you all to participate, if possible. So I would like to ask you to use the annotate function on Zoom, use a heart image to indicate where you're connecting from. And so just a little instruction how to get there. So if you look at your Zoom right now, go on the very top of your screen, you'll see view options. Click the drop down arrow and you'll see the option annotate. Click annotate and you should see one of the options is called stamp. And the heart image is inside that stamp. Okay, I'll give a 20 seconds for you all to do that. And just kind of repeat how to get there. If you look at your Zoom, just go to the very top, you'll see view option. Click that, you'll see annotate. And in annotate, one of the options called stamp, and the heart image is in there. Okay. I hope everyone figure out how to get there. Let me know questions. We'll give another 10 seconds. Okay, and okay. Wow. Okay, thank you. Wow, we have a lot of people from Asia this time. That's great. Thank you so much. Let's see. Gonna give it a couple. I'm gonna actually take a screenshot. Okay, let me check. Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Oh, that was great. It's really excited to see so many friends, not just people from the US, but also from the rest of the world, to be able to join these global dialogue together. So thank you so much for your participation. Okay, and before we start, just want to go over this Sli.do. So you are free to ask whatever question you want to ask the panelists by going to Sli.do. You can just go to Sli.do.com, enter the number 43349, or just simply scan the QR code. And please indicate who would you like to answer in your question. Like just put the name of the panelist that you want to answer in the in your question on Sli.do, if possible. Okay, and we will have a Q&A session at the end of the program, and we'll try to answer as many as possible. Okay, we will have the Sli.do link put in the chat once in a while, just in case anyone needs it. And okay, and now we're ready to move on to our panel session. And here I have my first question I would like to ask all three panelists. So you'll have dedicated your career and life work to your respective field. Can you share what initially inspired you to pursue these careers and how you persist throughout the years to fulfill these aspirations? Darcy, if we can start with you.
Certainly, lovely. Thanks very much, Roger, and looking very sharp on my ad as well. I look a bit more casual because I'm from Australia, but I'm going to share my screen with you all and just take you through a couple of slides of where I came from to be living and breathing advocacy and global change. So let me do a quick screen share here. On that one there, with this one. Let me make that larger size. Okay, so look, for me, let me start here with these United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or the global goals. Now, look, these are a wonderful plan for the whole world to work together to try and achieve big things. But the thing about these global goals is that they're very big, they seem very abstract and very far away. And so over the years, what I've learned is how do we make personal connections to these big contexts and things like these global goals? And so that's why I created Teaspoons of Change. These are small but significant ideas, attitudes, and actions that have a positive impact on people on the planet. So for me to feel like a global citizen or feel like that my actions actually matter, I need to think about them at a personal level and how they fit into a collective context like the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So let me just start by that. But let me now go into where did all of this start. So I'm the youngest of 6 children. I was kind of the mistake, but that's all right. I'm 9 years younger than my next eldest brother and 17 years younger than my eldest sister. Look, and I grew up in Australia, loving sport in a very, safe, friendly, easy environment. But look, my education started the day I finished university, so to speak. So over the last 20 years, I've been fortunate to work with many different organisations. Some I've created myself, some I've engaged with in short periods, some I'm still closely engaged with for more than 20 years. But look, my first stepping stone into this was to travel. I'm very privileged and very lucky to have been able to get out into the world. And so when I was 18, between my high school and university, which we call a gap year, I went and worked in a bakery in Japan. Now, I didn't speak Japanese. I didn't know how to make bread, but spending a year in that bakery, I learned both of those things. だから日本語喋るだよ。でも中国語全然わからない。ごめんなさい。So I do speak Japanese, but unfortunately I don't speak any Mandarin. But look, the thing that it taught me was that, I went to a very, like a private Catholic school. I was meant to go to university and get a job and a house and And when I went to Japan and I learned a new language, and I threw myself into a culture, I then realized my options were much, much wider and far more open. And so from that, I decided, right, well, I'm going to do what I want to do and not just do something that I think I should do. And so for me, that changed my direction of like, I didn't think about what do I want to be in the world? I started thinking about what do I want to do in the world? And those two questions are very different. And so my daily pursuit is on what can I do in the world? And so something that I wanted to do was to travel and climb mountains. I love climbing mountains. So I went to Kyrgyzstan when I was 23 years old, and I went volunteering in a university there, working with my colleagues. And look, this is where I really learned about life. So my friends here that I'm seated next to, Gildis and Norgiza, their salary was $40 for 1 month as a university teacher. Now, after being in Kyrgyzstan, I learned a lot from the way of life from these powerful women. And then I went teaching as an English teacher in South Korea, in Busan. And there my salary was $40 for 1 hour. And that's when it hit me. Why does the world work like this? Why is there such a difference between if I'm a teacher in South Korea and if I'm a teacher in Kyrgyzstan? It just didn't make sense. And so from that moment onwards, that's when I decided that I wanted to try and find answers and be a part of solutions. And so the last 20 years, I've been very privileged. I've traveled to more than 90 countries. I've given nearly 1,500 presentations to 150,000 people. And I don't know if any of it makes any difference, but I love doing it and I love sharing my story and engaging with people around these topics and issues of global citizenship. And there's a little TEDx talk here that I gave recently on why I love waking up on Mondays. So you might want to check that out. But look, here's my mantra. My mantra is I'm determined to not hate Mondays. You know, I don't want to do a job that I don't enjoy, that I'm just doing to make money so I can buy stuff. What I want to do is have a greater sense of purpose, realize that I'm only one person in the world, but what can I do? And to listen and to learn and engage with people just like yourselves and have these kinds of conversations. And so for me, it comes back to this idea of acting personally and locally, that they're impacting globally. So that's the big thing. Look, I'll get into the detail of that during the discussion forums and maybe in the second part. I look forward to engaging with as many of you as I can. And thank you so much for joining us today. It's absolutely fantastic. Let me stop the screen there and I'll go back to you there, Roger. Thanks, team.
Thank you, Darcy. Thanks so much. And now I'd like to move on to Dr. Huang.
Yes.
Take it away.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I guess when about 9 years old, about the third grade, I had the opportunity to attend a summer camp, special education summer camp. And in the summer camp, I saw a lot of kids. We are similar age, but completely different in the sense that I see a lot of kids, they have the disability. They cannot see, they cannot hear, they cannot walk, even retarded. There are a lot of issues. I guess we saw these people sometimes. It doesn't really shock you that much. But however, when few hundred of these special education kids come together, that really shock you, or at least myself. So like Darcy, I come up with a question: why make a difference? I can walk, I can see, I can hear, I can enjoy, but they cannot. Why? So that's where I had the impression, I want to do something to change this. And then by high school, at the time that, the first gene has been cloned in about 1980s. And I think that's a sort of booming in molecular biology and genetics at the time. So I decided maybe, I should go to the United States to study genetics and biochemistry, molecular biology. Maybe I could find something fundamentally in the basic science and we can change, turn these around. It was my dream. Even right now, it's still my dream. Yeah, so I focus on life science, sort of life science. And the approach that I did is sort of a scientific approach. So I finished my PhD degree and I do my postdoctoral research in one of the most famous biological studies in the Salk Institute, which is the name of Dr. Jonas Salk. He actually invented the poliovirus vaccine. So the institution is very prestigious. It has only about 70 faculty and 10% of them are Nobel Prize laureate. So you could see how competitive it is in that kind of environment. Yeah, I was happy there. From my PhD and then my postdoctoral research as a research fellow all these years, about 12 years, luckily, I was able to publish about 14 papers altogether. Some of them actually in pretty good journal. Yeah, some of them are in the review books right now. However, something happened at the end of the last year, about 2003, where I was about to go to continue my academic career as assistant professor. Something happened. There's a wildfire happened in San Diego, where I was at that time. And at that time, I was a volunteer with Tzu Chi Foundation already. And, the wildfire happened, and we tried to do some sort of disaster relief. And after the disaster relief, after connecting with so many people, so many survivors, and suddenly I feel like, this is better than science. Doing disaster relief is actually even more rewarding, So I guess my focus is still in life science, but now I kind of changed to life instead of science. The approach is slightly different. And I found that it's really a amazing feeling and experience when you are able to interact with different type of people. You really learn a lot. You learn a lot from where they come from. So I love doing this, and there are so many people still in need right now, and that's why I'm still doing all these. Yeah. If you ask me, do I want to be a scientist again? Yes, maybe when I have another opportunity, but I would love to focus on this kind of people's life and to understand more about our life. Yeah. So from science or from genetics to human beings. And I strongly encourage everybody try to engage to more people. I'm not trying to encourage you to change your career or change your major. Don't get me wrong. But I'm trying to encourage everybody. You try to interact with people, try to engage with people, especially the people that are surrounding you. You will find that it's very amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Huang. And now I would like to move on to Helen. Hi, Helen. Yeah, take away. Thank you. I think you're still muted.
I'm going to share my slides. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Can you see the slides?
Yes.
I will try to make it short. Thank you for inviting me, and this is about my own experience. I used to work for the UN agencies in China and also for some government agencies on low carbon policies. But one day, because of climate change, it's just triggered my inspiration to do something for young people. In 2014, the summer was so hot, and on my ground floor, I couldn't bear the heat. Then I started to think about building a sunshade. And then I discovered, okay, our government now is doing something on the low carbon policies, encouraging people to use renewable energy at home. So I immediately designed the sunshade by using the solar panels. And this is the first CIGS thin film solar panel in China. I'm the first civil user. So welcome to my home. This is only a small front yard, a balcony on the first floor in the suburb of Shanghai. And now I'm living in the Suzhou because Shanghai is too, the pandemic is very severe and my daughter is very small. And this one is the solar panel, and it's a very beautiful one. CIGS with less environmental impact during the production process. And this one, oh sorry. This has been visited by more than 15,000 people from around more than 10 countries. And people coming here to visit because I have some secret little low carbon weapons. This one is the solar panel. It's like a mirror. And it cost me only 5,000 US dollars to complete with the lifespan of 25 years. And also, I'm trying to make people to believe the little act can bring money to them, because our government is giving the subsidies to civilians if you want to invest in new renewable energy. So the national and the local financial incentives, plus the incentive by the state grid, you can sell automatically to the state grid, because if you have the surplus power produced by your own solar panels. And also it saves me electricity bill. And every year it gives me about 3,000 RMB. And also in the first year, the power produced by the solar panel is more than the power I consumed. So I was labeled as an energy positive family. This is exciting. And I later designed an aquaponic system, so I can collect rainwater. This is rainwater, the water tank on the first floor. And I use the pump to use the pipe to pump out the water to the planting bed on the second floor. And I can plant my vegetables in the planting bed. There's no soil, it's all the gravels. And this just like a lot of gravels, just like filters, can filter the fish pool, and the fish pool can be converted into nutrition to the plants. And then later, the water comes down through this pipe back to the water tank. So it can be purified by the gravels. And this little system is just like an artificial ecosystem. I can raise the fish and also plant the vegetables at the same time. And it's powered by my solar plant. And later I introduced this composters. It's not very expensive. I have 5, and I can digest. This one can digest my kitchen waste. I can produce my own organic liquid fertilizers myself to use it for my vertical farm. And I have some little gadget. It's all powered by the solar panels. It's just light, and this is a pest killer. And I have the irrigation system. And even during my stay in Suzhou, my little yard in Shanghai is still working by itself. So I also have the EV car, and I have the charging station for my EV car. And later, a company came to me saying, "Hi, Miss Ni, you have so many people coming to your home to visit. Why not I just invest one shared EV car charging station for you for free? And the people can use your charging station by scanning this QR code, and they can pay you. And I will take 60% of the income from this little investment." I said, "Sure, because I have no investment. And also you can show people the technology, how to share the power through just a simple charging poles." And later, this one is still being used by my neighbors now in Shanghai. And also later, we reaching out to the community, where we facilitated Shanghai's first community level charging station for EV car owners for more than 40 people in our compound. So this is the first one in Shanghai, and so many people came to visit, and we shared our experience.
So yeah, we pen the future that we want for 2045 and that we would envision. And we know that all three panelists are working very relentlessly in your organization toward this goal, toward this future. And so
yes, so I saw in the participant, there are a lot of few college students from Malaysia, Indonesia, China, or other Asian countries, or maybe other countries different from the United States. So hopefully this will interest you. Believe it or not, in California, the post-secondary education has some basic need problem, okay? So the recent survey has shown in California, the community colleges, there are housing and food insecure. So housing insecure means they don't have a place to live constantly. They have to go from A to B to C. They have to move around. Food insecure means they may have this meal, but they don't have the money or they cannot afford the next meal like most people do. So the ratio here, you can see that in community college, there are 19% of the community college students, they are housing insecure, and more than 40% of the students, they are struggling from the food insecure. And you can see there are similar situations in other universities like Cal State universities or the UC universities like UCLA, UC San Diego. Yeah, and this problem recently has drawn a lot of attention because I think most people would agree that this education is very important because college degree right now in these days, it's a must. Okay, it's not like years and years ago. And these students, a lot of these students, they may came from homeless background or come from foster youth background. They have the struggle, and still, they're still. I admire them because even they came from such a difficult background, but they're still trying hard to finish their college degree. You know, and these students are really, they deserve our help, especially during the pandemic. You know, I mean, they have struggled enough already, but pandemic, they cannot work because they all have part-time jobs. And these are the people that will be laid off, the first one. So right now, we are trying to support, you can show the next slide. It's just another stat that's showing that, you know, even students come from the high income families still struggle the same thing here. So what we're trying to do now is we try to call our volunteers that just graduate. They are either the college students, we call it Tzu Chi, or the Tzu Chi alumni. We try to and also work with the other, you know, other volunteers. We try to provide a program we call student subsidy program. Try to target these particular students, and we try to help them to, hopefully we can help them to a certain point that they can go through this difficult time and give them some love and care, and also the subsidy means the financial support to help them to go through the difficult time, and hopefully we'll put them in school to prevent all the potential, you know, future problems in the society. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing right now because we believe, or at least I believe, that education is very important, and everybody should deserve the opportunity to finish their college degree. Yeah, hopefully that will interest you. Thank you.
thank you, Dr. Huang. And Helen,
Why I'm doing this? Why I'm doing this little NGO and why we are promoting low carbon lifestyle? Because we found so many government investments goes to corporate or industrial parks. But when so many people are living in the community, more than 1.4 billion people living in China, they have very little access to low carbon knowledge or ideas or know-how. So we want to build up the bridge, the knowledge gap between the government policies and also the real life of people, starting from our own family. So we also have some other problems to solve because we are so close to Shanghai Jiao Tong University, one of the top 5 universities in China, and they have fantastic low carbon facilities in the campus. They have fantastic professors doing low carbon technology development, but they are invisible to the public, and their labs are so beautiful. And so we want to connect all these resources to the public. And also a lot of young kids like you guys are working so hard, and you don't have opportunities to communicate with each other. So we want to build up this platform. So here we are doing something. We encouraged our community kids to join us to lead the China's first low carbon tour in connecting community and university campuses. So this is our stops, and all the kids come to join us. And we have the solar barbecue machine and some EV cars. And we have some other the schools children to join us to recycle and reusing wastes. And also we have well-trained little volunteers. They are the volunteer narrators to visitors come to our homes and also experience the tours. And these people are experienced, and they have set up their career path towards sustainability. And they have also won a lot of national awards by doing experiments on environmental projects in the community. And they visit neighborhoods to solve some real problems of the packaging, for example. And these are the headline story why the primary school students are focused on the garbage sorting in China and what's their solutions.
Darcy?
Excellent. Thanks again there, Roger. I'll just do a share screen if we can do that one again.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let me make that bigger. Beauty. Okay, so look, let me start with a provocation of where we're doing and how we get into action. I offer this question to almost every audience that I engage with. And this question is, are you a global citizen? So I encourage everyone who's listening today or joining us today to think about this question. It's an ongoing question. And importantly, there's no right or wrong answer. And the main thing for me is that there isn't the perfect definition, because global citizen needs to be something personal. So what does that look like to you? You know, how, I don't know, you're the expert in you, not me. And so we need to think about, well, what does that look like to me in my life? You know, my little slice of life, what are the things that I might do that have a positive impact in my personal choices, decisions, and actions? So I offer you that provocation to think about over time and to come back to. But look, if I am going to summarize things pretty basically of actions and impact, I'm always thinking about what are my personal teaspoons of change, my personal actions, or whatever you want to call it. How does that fit into being a good and effective global citizen and an active one? And then how does that impact those United Nations global goals? So I loved everything that Helen and Dr. Huang were talking about, is that these are personal actions, but they fit into that global context. And so I always keep this as a good reminder for me with whatever I'm doing, it connects into being a global citizen and it connects into those global goals. And the other thing I like about this is this works in reverse. If we want to achieve these big global goals, gender equality, you know, life below water, life on land, et cetera, we need to think as global citizens, but then we have to act in our teaspoons of change. And when we do that individually, obviously that connects collectively. So yeah, look, for me, if it is the idea of being a global citizen, it's just knowing that I'm connected to people and the planet. Everything I do has an impact. And that's good or bad, it just depends. But what I try and do is have more good ones, make better choices, decisions, and actions as much as possible. And so over the years, I think what I've learned is that there's, you know, we're making decisions all day, every day, and then just trying to make as many good decisions as often as possible. So it's a lifelong pursuit. No one's perfect, and there's no such thing as perfect. Well, we shouldn't aim for that. It's just about doing what we can. And look, you don't have to do this by yourself. There are lots of really good organizations out there doing good things. And so what I do is I follow my passions and my interests, and I try and find good people who are doing good things. Helen's a great example, Dr. Huang, everyone else. These are the people that we can learn from and aspire towards. And if there is a gap and you find it, then create your own. Teaspoons of Change, Happy Simply are these self-sufficient tiny houses that I've built, which are completely off the grid. I'm not there at the moment because I had to travel, but yeah, there's lots of examples out there, polio eradication and more. So look, here's a model for you. So I didn't want to give you too many specific examples. I just wanted to give you some concepts and models. And this model is help versus harm. So think about, well, what are the helps that you do in your daily life? And that could be, reusing or reducing or volunteering or just being a nice person, cleaning up your room or, even those simple, tiny things, they're all helps. And then, yes, we have harms. And so we have to understand our harms so we can try and reduce them. And so what we're trying to do is to maximize our help and to minimize our harm. And that's a very personal journey. And I'm not going to say here, you should do this and you should do that, but just keep that in mind. And gradually over time, you'll start to balance those messages out. Now, look, for the work that I'm doing currently at the moment, I'm based not far from Helen. Well, I will be. I'm in South Australia at the moment, but I will be going to Shanghai soon. What's going on here? I'm working with the Dulwich group of schools and the Duhong group of schools. And what we're trying to do is to bring these ideas into that at personal, collective, and global levels. And I love this, education and sustainability is not just something to learn, it's something to live. So, I'll leave you with this idea of what are your teaspoons of change. I'll throw it in your court. I can give you some examples, but it's going to be an individual journey. And I live by this idea, which is small actions multiplied by lots of people equals big change. And so I hope that everyone that's on this call today, if we do one of those small changes, we'll multiply that by about 150 of the people who are here today. And this is where we start to create momentum. So keep that formula in mind and just know that our actions do matter and your teaspoons of change might count. And I'll just leave that up for a second and people can get in touch if you want, or I'm sure keep in touch with our dialogues and we'll do wonderful things there. Thanks again, Roger.
Thank you, Darcy. Thank you so much. And now we're going to move on to the most interesting part of the dialogue. We're going to pull you all into a breakout room for a small group discussion. And just want to make a few reminders before we start. If you haven't renamed yourself, please do that right now. So if you're a high schooler or younger, please put a 1 in front of your region. If you're a college student or graduate from university, please put 2. If you're from US, please put the state acronym in the bracket. And if you are from the rest of the world, please put the full country name after the number inside the bracket. Okay. And so it's still going to be a 40-minute group discussion. We will have a time reminder throughout the entire time. And there will be a total 18 small groups. There will be a facilitators in each room to help leading the discussion. And you'll be meeting people from different regions. And a panelist will visit at one point during this discussion time. And so you have the chance to interact. And just want to say that it is a safe, supported environment in each breakout room. So take the chance to speak and engage with the discussion. And one good way to engage discussion is to have the camera on. So encourage you to do that in the discussion room if you're able to do that. And if your mic is not working, that's okay. You can still use the Zoom chat function. And the Zoom chat is private. So whatever you type in the Zoom chat will only be seen within that people in that same breakout room that you're at. Okay, and just to have fun, enjoy the discussion, and I hope you're all ready. All right, tech team, go ahead and put them to small group when you're ready. And so now we're moving on to the last part of this panel session. And so I would like to ask panelists you all have visited one other room and also listened to this group sharing. And so if you're able to respond to the sharing, your feedback, and also tell us like what are some concrete suggestions to the youth about how they can make their voice heard by the world, and how can they do to contribute to a better future 2045 for all of us. And you all each have 5 minutes to answer. And Helen, you go first, if that's
Okay. Just want to share some stories with you, and can I share the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So just now I was in the group, and I said to a few students, I said, climate change is personal. We want to make change by taking personal action. I entirely agree with Darcy's view and his approach. And this is the story. We have coached 4 rural students. They were doing the earthworm and reducing the food waste in the school and at their family. And in the end, we helped them to voice out of their research results at the UN China Teenager Environmental Forum 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And this is their own drama show. This is the only drama show at the stage. And this one is recorded by a lot of national and also provincial media. And it's very good, inspiring discoveries. And also, we encourage students to publish their articles and experience in the national newspaper and national magazine. This is China Environment magazine. It's published nationwide. And these are the stories of their own. And also, this one is the Trash Track project. Everyone, these teenagers in the high school, for 6 nerdy boys, they want to figure out how the trash they sorted out by the government, by the residents, where they eventually end up. And finally, they find out that actually government is doing their job very well. And so the next job is for this group of students to voice out this result to the neighborhood. Everyone, please keep on going the garbage sorting effort, because government is doing their job and we can do our own job. And in the end, also another 2 teams in Suzhou and Shanghai, they try to socialize logistics system to collect packaging materials or recycle packaging materials for logistic companies or delivery services. And also, this group is trying to make each family's washing machine. How this washing machine is not doing well by processing the microfibers from their garments. And they try to voice out all these results they found in the family, and also their investigation. So the last question, to sum up, when you think of changing the world, what can you do to start changing yourself first? So I give you this story. Surprise boy, Ji Ming, he's 16 this year, but 60 years ago, he was volunteering at our activities. He just lived our neighbor in our neighborhood. He was a very shy boy, and starting from narrating to the public, to the peers, and he found himself, actually, I can do something meaningful. But his academic performance at home, at his school, is very, very poor, especially writing. And I encouraged him to write down his story of volunteer work. And finally, he won the national award of the innovative writing in China in 2016. And he is on the ceremony. And starting from then, his performance at home, at the school, is improving fast. And he is happy to share his stories by volunteering with us. And I think he will become a future leader in sustainability, because he has made up his mind he will become an environmental engineer in the future. This is a surprise boy, and we have a few case studies in our neighborhood, some other boys and girls like him. So I would encourage all young kids, you can find your talent, you can find your passion. If you really engage you and your neighborhood, your surrounding community, you can find your potential there. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you so much. And Darcy?
Hi there, sorry, was also just making sure I had a couple of slides ready to go here. I said to you earlier that I wanted to dig into the detail of some examples, so let me do that with you. That's the one I want. Let's get SpongeBob up front and center. Actually, that's not, I need to go back a couple. Okay. All right, so yeah, so following on exactly from what Helen was saying is, I have this mantra of, are you a part of the pollution or are you a part of the solution? And we kind of have that choice sometimes, not always, to make those decisions. You know, what does a good decision look like in this context? How can I make it for myself? How might that then impact others? So here, I'll give you an example. You don't have to be this excited about riding a bike, but I had just ridden 4,000 kilometers around New Zealand, so I was pretty happy to be finished, and so was my bottom. But when you ride a bike, remember that you're contributing to global goal number 3, good health and well-being, okay? You're keeping fitter, healthier, your mental health is much better. You're also contributing to sustainable cities and communities. If more people ride their bicycles, governments will have to create more cycling infrastructure and create active transport. And of course, you're also contributing to Global Goal 13 on climate action. So this is what I try and do is have that, you know, those two narratives running at the same time. What are my personal actions and how do they fit into a collective context? You don't have to go to Africa to be a good global citizen. You can make your personal choices, decisions, and actions. Let me give you some examples. This was a little sushi character from Japan when I was teaching there. It says, mai hashi waseranai dane, which means don't forget your chopsticks. So in Japan, often when you go to a ramen place or a noodle bar or something, they give you waribashi, the throwaway chopsticks. So instead, these students created a campaign to remember to bring your own chopsticks when you're going out to dinner, or they're going to give you throwaway stuff. So I've got those. But really, look, what it comes down to is active citizenship and community participation. And Helen's examples are fantastic. And I think all the discussions I've been a part of is exactly that. What does it look like for me to be an active citizen and participate in my community? I've worked in a UNIS, this is in Hanoi, in Vietnam, and they have some SDG guardians at their school. And these students, they go around the school, they just try and find little ways and ideas to make a positive impact. Use memes. I'm a big fan of memes, so use that and get that out there. You know, engage people with interesting, fun, and different kinds of ways. Hang on, I've got one or two more here. This came from some students in Australia. They were learning about chocolate. That's great, and they said you can help end extreme poverty by eating chocolate. And everyone's like, okay, that sounds great. And they said, aha, but it needs to have this little logo here, this label, fair trade. And when you eat something that's fair trade, all of these good things happen. But here's the clever thing, is that when they got people to eat fair trade chocolate, they would keep the empty wrappers and they would put together about 10 at a time and write a letter to Nestle and say, we're the students of Belair High School in South Australia. We only eat fair trade chocolate. We want you to use fair trade cacao in your chocolate. Did Nestle change? No, but if they're not hearing from people, they will never change. So you never know what the next thing or the next thing or the next thing will happen to create that change. And my last example here is some students in Canada that I was working with, and Dr. Huang will like this. I was talking to them about polio. And so when you get your polio vaccine, they put a little purple mark on your finger. And this young girl here in Canada, she then painted her whole finger purple and she started walking around the streets. And everyone's like, hey, why have you got a purple finger? She said, well, we just learned about polio eradication. Did you know that we've gone from 350,000 cases of polio in 1988 to just 33 cases in 2018. Okay, so they were sharing stories. And the fingerprint here, some students in the East Toronto Primary School, they did their fingerprint. They put it on this huge piece of paper and they said, we want the Canadian government to give money towards polio eradication. You know, it sent it off to the Prime Minister. Canada gave $240 million to polio eradication at the end of that year. Not because of one girl with her finger, not because of one fingerprint, because enough people did something interesting and engaging and make things happen. So yeah, so that's it from me. I'm going to stop it there. I was very excited to be a part of all of those panel conversations, the groups, and I'm sure we'll get a little bit of Q&A happening as well. Back over to you, Roger.
Thank you, Darcy. Thanks so much. Yeah, of course, we'll go to that in a bit very soon. But last, I want Dr. Huang to have you a chance to answer their question as well.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Roger. And first of all, I really appreciate the opportunity and to listen to all the conversations, and they're really a good inspiration to me. If I'm going to suggest a little thing, something to everyone, I would say just to show that you care. What does that mean? It simply means that if you see somebody, it could be a stranger, it could be your friends. If he or she did something really great, you know, you give it a thumb up. If they are struggling, just tap on their shoulder and tell them, hey, don't worry, everything will be just fine. Just to show you care, because that's very important. When I still in the science field, I believe in competition, which means that you have to be good. If you're not good, you better go home. And I realized that that's terrible. That's very bad. The world shouldn't be like this, based on a competition. It's people care about people, and that's the warm feeling that could inspire people. You know, doesn't matter what difficult they are struggling. It becomes very important. It's the most important solution to them. If you want to convince other people that your thoughts, that your idea is right, if you want to invite more partners in the future to work together or for some collaboration, we need to start to build this kind of little sort of friendship connections. And all these will start from small things, just by saying, hey, hi, how are you? These little things. Let's try not to forget this, because all these are the very beginning for a very great and successful relationship that you may need it in the future. The opposite side of love is not to hate somebody, but it's indifference. If we don't care, nobody cares about anyone, imagine what kind of world it will be. So to conclude this, I would say, you know, let's try to take any opportunity to show that we care. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Dr. Huang. That was very great. Thank you so much. And now we are going to move on to the Q&A session. And so we'll also screen share the question, and I'm pretty sure all of you have done that. You can also like the question that you felt is that's asked like very interestingly. So go ahead and do that. So we're gonna just order with the number of like first, and or switching around between panelists. So let's see if we can share the Sli.do question with everyone. Okay, so I think the first question will have to go to Darcy, with the most like. So what's the one small project where you act locally but impact globally?
All of them. There's not one project that we're working on that isn't locally connected. And I think Helen's examples of her own home is a great place to start. but it is for ourselves as well. It's those personal choices, decisions, and actions. So, you know, in a school or a university, it's working towards, you know, gender diversity or inclusion or plastic free or any of these sorts of things. And I mentioned this to one of the groups, is that every rejection is still a step forward. Okay, if you don't ask the question, the answer has to be no. So we have to work on small projects at a personal and local basis for them to have a global impact. That's just the way it works. It's pretty rare where you have a global issue and you can solve it globally without having a personal impact. COVID teaches that better than teaches us that better than anything else. So I mean, yeah, if anyone's looking for a personal exact project, I'll just refer to Helen. Look at everything she's done. So yeah, I think there's lots of opportunities out there.
I guess if you'd like to continue to answer the second question, like how do you keep out on the go and remain the mindset of impacting the global? And do you have any habit or practice?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. And Dr. Huang referred to this as well. Of you do need a bit of a thick skin. So you know, my help versus harm balance that I talked about, I have another one of those, and it's optimism and realism. And so often we have to have a balance of both of those things. We have to remain optimistic even when we think it's impossible, but we have to remain realistic, or too much optimism means that we get complacent. So I like that balance of having those things of optimism, realism. And sometimes, you know, depending on what report you read or the headline it is, you can feel like this is too hard, I can't do anything. And so you've got to work a bit harder on the optimism side. And then sometimes you think, oh my God, I've just listened to this great podcast and yeah, we're going to get out of this. This is going to be easy. And then we have to go back to the drawing board when you have a conversation with someone who doesn't, you know, share your worldview. So that's a good guide for me, at least, to work through some of these things, is to have a balance of those of realism and optimism.
Or yeah, that's very great. Thank you. And I think the third most likely question is, what's the best career advice you have ever received? This question didn't specify any panelists to answer. So if Helen or Dr. Huang would like to answer this question.
I think I received the career advice more than 15 years ago when I was working on a government agency project. Advisor told me, she actually was the first one in China to set up a think tank in sustainability in China. And she told me, Helen, if you want to do something you really feel passionate about, you have to practice more and also learn relevant knowledge to prove you have expertise in this area. And also you need to learn to do more research to demonstrate you are a real professional and you can do some impact in surrounding your community and also in your career life. So I followed her advice and went to Cambridge University. And also later I came back to work for UN agencies in China. And I didn't stop learning, and I didn't stop talking to people, communicating with each other. And I think Dr. Huang, he also mentioned showing the care to the others and also to demonstrate, to practice. It's not only showing, but also take actions. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. That was great. I don't think it shows on the screen share, but I'm looking at the Sli.do right now. Next question is asking to all panelists, who's the most influential person in your life and why? If we can start with Dr. Huang. So the question is, who's the most influential person in your life and why?
I would say it's actually, there are so many people in my whole life. I guess I'm a lucky person. I would say, you know, all my teachers from my elementary school all the way to PhD, finish everything, all my career. I think all these people are very important. However, I do think that at this moment, I would say my spiritual leader is the most important person to me, because I think the funder for the foundation. I found that she is not just teaching me how to do things or some kind of technology or some kind of knowledge. I think she has been trying all the followers wisdom. How can we practice and learn wisdom? And I find that that's very important. And how do we, for example, how do we put compassion into action? I think Darcy and Helen also talk about similar things. How do we take small steps, put into the actions, and don't be afraid, And I really I would say that she is overall, I think she is the most influential person to me. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Huang. Helen?
Yeah, I think Sir David Attenborough, he's my hero. I only knew him when I was studying in the UK, and he is such a practitioner and also a preacher of climate change and also the technology and the knowledge to the world. And he is 95 years old this year, and he never stopped doing his work. And I encourage everyone to to view the BBC documentary Frozen Planet to see the real impact and how this real old UK anchor, he still traveled to around the world to find the facts and call for people to take actions. Even he is in his 90s, he never stopped. I think he is the most inspiring person to me, and he's using his influence to try to persuade at the UN level to the politicians and also community people. He's a hero.
Thank you, Helen. Darcy?
Yeah, I mean, there are dozens of people that I can choose, but I'm going to be a little gratifying to our audience. But for me, it's young people. So I'm constantly inspired and impressed by young people and your thirst for change. There are lots of barriers around that until we can get adults that truly listen to young people. Then it's always going to be that challenge. But I believe that your collective actions and efforts and inspiration are really important to the world. So I'd said to one group here that you're not here by accident. Some of you are here on Saturday night or Sunday morning. You're here because you care and you're inspired and passionate about these things. So for me, that's incredibly uplifting. And I'm an idiot just like you. I'm here on a Sunday in the middle of my day to come and have a wonderful conversation with all of you. So that's the, this is solidarity. This is who we are. We're here to connect with other people from our states or territories or countries, etc., to work collectively towards change. And that is really powerful. And not only are we doing that to show us in solidarity that we're here together, but we're having important conversations. And for me, that's fantastic.
Thank you, Darcy. Okay, moving on to the next question, which is not shown on the screen share on Sli.do. So that's to Helen. The question is asking, your low carbon initiatives are very impressive. To make a difference, your ideas need to be scaled. What can we be?
University groups who are doing this kind of research, and you still can build up the contacts with them. And this is also part of the scaling up. And we are using this kind of approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Next question to Dr. Huang. Is full housing insecurity a problem at university nationwide? If so, had Tzu Chi considered expanding the student subsidy program?
Sorry, maybe I'm mute. Yeah. Yes. The example that I show you is in California. And I think at this moment, most surveys are being conducted in California as well. However, I believe that in a lot of other metropolitan areas, they may have the same issue here. So one thing that we have been trying to do is trying to develop so-called case management to help any students that in need. In addition to that, we also have a scholarship program that particularly designed for the high school senior about to go to college to help them financially. So, and I believe that all these programs should be able to expand it because, say the scholarship program, it used to be for a high school senior. But right now we extend it to, the college freshman, sophomore as well. If you need it, you can always reapply again. So yeah, I think that's something that we have been working on, and we'll continue to work with any other institutions that could be interested in this issue. Yeah, I believe that when we have more partners that work together, it will be a big help.
Great, thank you, Dr. Huang. This next question is say to any panelist, but I think I'm going to ask Darcy. The question is asking, do you all feel more scientists should be involved in policy making? If yes, then how can we achieve this?
Yes. And how can we achieve this? That's a hard question. That's a really hard question. I think we have lost the edge on science being our most important source of information. But again, I suppose I kind of come back to discussion, so that we try and bring a discussion back, so we don't dismiss anyone, but we try and speak from our own perspectives and try to say, well, the way I make choices is by looking at people who know more than I do. So I suppose that one of the techniques that I use is the mix of humility and humanity. And so humility is brave enough to say, I don't know the answers, but I want to learn them from people who study these things. And humanity is, I want to connect with my fellow human beings to make good choices together. So I suppose that's where I try and steer the conversation. And they're really hard conversations because some people can't hear anything because their opinions are stronger than the facts. But I always try and bring it back to those two elements. So I hope that might be useful.
Thank you, Darcy. So that's about the time that we have for the Q&A session. Thank you so much. And we understand there's so many questions. Thank you for your participation. That was really great, but I'm sorry, we're running out of time and I want to make sure that we end on time for everyone. So before just the wrap up, we would like to ask all three panelists to give all the attendees like a minute brief final words of encouragement or suggest anything to our attendee here. So Dr. Huang, if you can go first.
Okay, yeah, sure. Again, thank you, Roger. Thank you for all the panelists and so for all the participants today. When I worked at the Salk Institute, I saw this very famous quote from Dr. John and Salk, and I like it a lot. So I want to share with you. Hope lies in dreams, in imagination, and in the courage of those who dare to make dreams into reality. I guess we all have dreams. We all have hopes, but that's not enough. We have to take actions. We got to have this courage to make it happen. And I think it's good for all the participants at this young age like you're able to participate in an event like this. And I think it's very important, very powerful for you. Hopefully, they maybe open our minds and the way that we think and look at things differently. But no matter how we think differently, we all have to take actions. And in order to take actions, we got to have this courage. We have to imagine, we have the vision, and we have the courage to make that happen. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Huang, thank you so much. Darcy.
I missed what we're meant to be talking about because I froze.
Oh, sorry. So we're at the end of the dialogue, and I would like to ask you all panelists give us just a minute, a brief final words or encouragement suggestion to the young attendee here.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, for me is I use a formula of gift plus passion equals change. So your gift can be anything that you enjoy doing, anything that you're good at. Add it to your passion. It could be gender equality, it could be environmentalism, it could be whatever it is. And if you put those two things together, that's how we're going to create change. I like riding a bike. I like talking about the SDGs. So I've ridden my bike around a whole bunch of different countries talking about the SDGs, trying to create change. It was good fun to me. It hopefully had a positive impact. But no one's perfect. You don't all have to go and work for the UN. Do what you enjoy doing. Add it to something you care about in the world. And we've got this. Let's do it together.
Wonderful. Thank you, Darcy. And last but not least, Helen.
Yes, my advice is to encourage people like you guys stay stubborn. This stubborn, this word that means persistence. You need to really find the passion in your bottom of your heart, because you have already aware of the challenge, but you really find the fire to push you forward. And also, in the end, you have to find actions out of your passion. So this is something I would like to use the Oxford Jackson Zhao. He actually from the migrant workers background, and he was in the Jiao Tong University. He volunteered with us for 2 years, and he became a vegetarian on the last year of fourth year. And he realized the climate change is so pressing. And also he became a marathon runner, and he raised money for the local foundation. And also he cycle from Shanghai to Lhasa to Tibet from using 1 month in the summer holiday. And he tried to find out the evidence of the climate change from the bottom of the Shanghai coastal area to the plateau. And that's very important that he take actions to figure out what's the career path he will follow. So now he is doing his second master in Oxford University, and he won the Rhodes Scholarship. But this is a big contrast of his background. You know, if you are disadvantaged, but if you are so persistent, you still can find your potential to become a leader. So that's my advice and my summary. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. That was great. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone. Hope you all had learned a lot today. And just want to give a few final announcements before we close this dialogue. And so first thing is that remember to fill out the survey if you can. We'll send out the survey soon after this dialogue. We appreciate any feedback that you give it to us. That's how we motivate and improve ourselves to be better. And we have our next final dialogue take place on December 19th. And so if you already registered, you don't have to re-register again. But please feel free to invite your friends, anyone that you know in high school, in college, to join if they are interested in these topics that we're talking about. If you want to learn more about Tzu Chi and find out volunteer opportunities, please also follow us on our social media on Tzu Chi USA website, Facebook or Instagram. Instagram account is Tzu Chi YLFP for more info. And now, if you all like to turn your camera and unmute yourself, waving to each other, thank you so much. Thank you all the panelists. Thank you all the staff. Thank you all the participants. You guys are all wonderful. Great job. Have a great day, great night. See y'all. Bye-bye. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Roger. Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Have
to
a
all the
good day.
facilitators,
Thank
Thank you,
Bye.
guys.
all the
Thank you.
staff,
Be
all the
healthy.
participants.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Bye.
Thank